Houston-Syracuse is a great matchup. I think this Oregon-USC game is going to be off the charts. Absolutely off the charts, but the best one, in my opinion, is going to be USC and Oregon. I love what you have to say about. I mean, this is going to be awesome. This Florida State Michigan game is going to be just an incredible sporting event. And Leonard Hamilton breaking it down. A couple of great coaches with obviously Leonard Hamilton and Juwan Howard. Just amazing. This is going to be a ton of fun coming up this weekend in the Sweet 16. Football has been dominant on the phones. We destroyed the Pittsburgh Steelers in the monologue today. Steelers fans have been flooding the phone lines. We've had a lot of Planet Delusional Steelers fans. We've had a couple of realistic Steelers fans. Steven Nelson, cut him. And this on the heels of letting, Tyson Alualu go and Bud Dupree goes and Mike Hilton goes and Vince Williams goes and they bring back Juju. So where is this team better? They didn't improve the line. They literally don't have a starting running back on the team. Now, you might say, and I'll say, they could draft the running back in the first round, but you can pigeonhole yourself like bad organizations do and say you must draft your running back in the first round. It's a mess. It is an absolute mess. And the Steelers fans who are honest and objective, your team is completely rudderless and third at best in your own division. Another year is going to go by, and you're not going to win a playoff game. The Eagles signing Joe Flacco is a big topic on the show because it means that hopefully they're not going to take a quarterback at 6 because Jalen Hurts is going to be the guy, which they should do. It's all set up that way. So draft a stud receiver, a Kyle Pitts, or a star offensive tackle with that 6th overall pick, and, just keep on keeping on. That's how I would do it. We got into the Alabama Pro Day, got into the prospects with Harris and Jones and Waddle and Devontae Smith, and where they're going to go in the upcoming draft. We talked about the Fernando Tatis Jr. scare. We'll see the latest on that as we move along. Hopefully it's nothing crazy for Tatis because he is one of the most electrifying players in all of sports. And this team, the Padres, to me, they're the second best team behind the Dodgers in baseball talent-wise. A lot of Laker conversation. Poll question today after another Laker debacle. Will the Lakers make the playoffs without LeBron and AD? Yes or no? I gave you the reasons why it's not going to happen. I teased at the end of last hour who my MVP is. It's Big Honey. And I want to make sure this doesn't sound Johnny-come-lately. You guys know, for the sake of consistency, that I've said for the vast majority of the year that the top 3 guys were Joel Embiid, LeBron James, and Jokic. And Embiid got hurt, and LeBron's hurt, and Jokic is unbelievable. And I don't put James Harden in this conversation. I don't. First of all, hasn't played a full year in Brooklyn. He's been phenomenal with the Nets, and we're going to acknowledge that. I'm picking Brooklyn, obviously, to win the Eastern Conference, but am I supposed to forget how he torpedoed the season for the Houston Rockets? Because I don't, and I won't. Thomas in Colorado, our good friend. Next on Sports.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, Thomas? Bring it.
So, Tom Brady's bringing free agents because he's got a big pull. I was hoping to see if Matt Stafford could have just as big of a pull, even though the Rams are kind of cap-strapped.
Explain that.
I mean, doesn't it seem like the Rams don't have a lot of money right now to spend on big free agent wide receivers?
You want a receiver? They just signed Deshaun Jackson.
I don't know if Deshaun Jackson's got the juice like that anymore.
That's fair, and I understand that. But I don't think that wide receiver is an area of need with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. I'm a little surprised and startled by this take. You don't think they have enough weapons around Matthew Stafford?
I mean, Cooper Kupp's going to get doubled. I don't know if Robert Woods can single-handedly, carry an offense, even though Cooper Kupp's getting defeated. I think I like Cam Akers a lot, though, and Tyler Higbee still got the juice. So I kind of would like maybe one more big offensive wide receiver. But
Thomas, I am really disappointed that you don't value Robert Woods. I think Robert Woods is a heck of a wide receiver, and I am stunned that you're not giving the organization credit. Look, losing Johnson on defense to Cleveland, I thought that was, for Cleveland, one of the best moves of the offseason. Their big move was Matthew Stafford. They have pushed all their chips in salary cap-wise for a long time. The Rams last year, if they had a better quarterback who wasn't a double agent, they could have been the Bucs. And I said that throughout the course of the season. They have the elite defense in the NFL. And you're right on Akers, and I'm a big fan of his as well. And the Rams, to me, they could have been Tampa. We said as much. You remember they beat Tampa, they beat Seattle consecutive weeks. I thought they were going to make a run. And Jared Goff just kept throwing it to the wrong team. Their big-ticket acquisition is Matthew Stafford. And I think he's going to make everyone better, and everyone's going to make him better. And Matthew Stafford, people say, well, he hasn't won a playoff game. That was the Lions. I mean, come on. I'm rarely mesmerized by a take. The Rams, to me, are arguably the team to beat in the NFC. Using your word, you don't think your team has the juice on offense to go to the Super Bowl, Thomas?
I think last year we just saw straight defense ball out, Maybe I want to see a couple offensive touchdowns. Maybe see Matt Stafford put up 30 every week. That'd be nice.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I really don't. I'm genuinely perplexed. I'm actually surprised that there are Rams fans who think that their team hasn't done enough. We could talk about the defense, and we talk Johnson. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. But and if you wanted to stress that, I think there was, maybe a point, and you wanted to stress what a big loss that was. Or losing your defensive coordinator, Staley, to be the head coach of the Chargers. That I understand. But the offense? I mean, going from Goff to Stafford is a major win. I'm perplexed. I'm perplexed. I mean, I don't understand it. He's clearly a great fan. He clearly knows his team. I just vehemently disagree with the take. But otherwise, thanks for the call. Chad in California, our good friend. Next on Sports.
Schein, what's going on?
My guy, Chad. Bring it.
Oh, Schein, first off, appreciate the love for Big Honey. I think you're 100% right there. Got a little break in this college basketball, so let's talk a little football, Schein. One quick college note. I love what Norvell's doing at my Florida State, Schein. I think the culture's slowly changing. You're not going to, Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to change the season in a year. I think the recruits come in. I'm excited for this fall for my Florida State Seminoles, Schein. And, obviously the NFL is king, and Peyton comes in. And this offseason has been tremendous for the Broncos. Fuller and Darby on the outside. I mean, Fangio, this is Fangio's chance to really put his hands on the defense and make a mark on the defensive side of the ball. If Vaughn can come back to be, 85 to 90% of what he used to be with Chubb on the other side, I think bringing back Kareem Jackson after we got to sign Simmons to his deal, make him happy. I mean, our secondary is loaded. Our pass rush is loaded. Shelby Harris comes back. He's such an underrated defensive lineman. The offense, I mean, every time you and other analysts bring up the weapons, I mean, it's just an endless list of weapons. And we always forget Sutton, who's coming off an injury. There's just that one position still, Schein. And I know it, and a lot of Broncos fans know it. The veteran market's kind of dried up a little bit. I'm glad we didn't gamble on Fitzpatrick. I'm glad we didn't gamble on Dalton. I didn't see that as a really an upgrade. That was kind of lateral. It's the draft now, Schein. And this is where Peyton, he can turn a B-plus offseason into an A-plus real quick, Schein.
Chad, you really know your stuff, and I love your new general manager, and Peyton has such a great reputation coming from Minnesota, and that Kyle Fuller move, I mean, teaming him with Fangio, it's seamless, it's brilliant, it's perfect in every possible way. I love it. And you guys have, I mean, it's one of those moves where it just takes the confidence level in the football team to a different level. Chad, I'm with you on the quarterback. Now, obviously, we've discussed Deshaun Watson. You can't trade for Deshaun Watson right now with everything going on, and we're going to let everything take its course. But, I mean, every day there's a new lawsuit, and it's uglier and more awful than the next. So, you can't trade for Deshaun Watson right now. Sam Darnold is a player that we have talked about. And I think that Darnold would make a lot of sense. for the Denver Broncos. I think he's a big, strong-arm quarterback who would thrive with the receivers that you guys have. The draft is also going to be fascinating because, Chad, if you draft a quarterback, you kind of want him to play. Yeah, if you draft a quarterback and it's going to be, insert Mac Jones or Fields or Lance, and yet Drew Lock's the other guy, you don't want Drew Lock anywhere near the starting quarterback position. So you're going to, whoever you draft, you're going to want that guy to play if that's the direction you go in, and don't bring in someone like Sam Darnold. I'm going to be fascinated to see where these quarterbacks go in the draft. Carolina trading for a quarterback, trading up for a quarterback is one thing. I think Denver has other holes too. I'm kind of more in favor of the Broncos letting the draft come to them.
I agree, and that's the thing is this whole time in the offseason we've been penciled for Surtain or Farley at the cornerback position. The cornerback position is no longer a need, so that wipes that out. Micah Parsons, yeah, I can see that. But like I said, right now the defense is pretty solid. I'd argue it's probably one of the best defenses in the league with all the acquisitions this offseason. So like you said, Carolina, I think they're moving up regardless. They're going to get one of these guys. I'm so in love with Justin Fields, what he can do. I think last season he had the ups and downs. He dealt with the injury. It's COVID. There's so much stuff going on last season. I hate to judge someone off of that. We've seen how great he can be, his mobility, his arm. He's kind of a pseudo, just Deshaun Watson himself. He can kind of come in and be that type of player, I think. And like you said, do we let the draft come to us at 9 and see if Lance or Fields, drops out of the top 8? Do we see if maybe, Pitts and Panay out of Oregon kind of take up some spots in that top 8 to where it pushes a quarterback, or does teams jump us? I'm interested to see how Peyton's going to address this draft now that we've seen his free agent strategy.
I also think, Chad, some of the market drying up for Darnold's and paying attention to what San Francisco does, you might be able to get Darnold's giving up a second-round pick. And that would do that. That would be interesting from my perspective. Or, a second plus. We'll see. What is if San Francisco's involved? I think San Francisco would get him, but you might be able to get a player in the top 10 and still get your quarterback in Sam Darnold.
And that would be a home run right there. You get Parsons to just solidify that defense, and then you go home with Darnold. I think San Francisco and Denver are kind of towing the line together, seeing who's going to jump off the cliff first, who's going to make that move. I think we're kind of hand in hand. We're both similar. We have offensive weapons, great defenses. I think one of us is waiting for the other one to budge. So that's a good point there with Darnold. Let me give you one other that someone gave to me. What if you traded out of the top 10 and traded down with the Jets to where they are with that second first-round pick, the Seattle pick, and you got Darnold? That would be interesting as well, because another player that kind of is catching my eye, obviously, if we can get later on in the first round, I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on a Najee Harris or something. We let Lindsey go. If we can get a quarterback and move back, and you put an ETN or Najee Harris in that lineup with Gordon, who obviously has tread on the tires, but he's a little older.
Chad, you're in business. What you just described, you're right there. You're in business with that defense. You're officially in business. Andrew in North Carolina, our good friend. Next on Sports.
My man, Adam Schein. How you doing?
Oh, Andrew, what's cooking? Good to hear your voice.
Nothing's cooking in Pittsburgh. You nearly brought me to tears this morning, but you definitely spoke the truth on what's going on. Bringing Juju back is the wrong move. I think he's a solid number 2, but at best at that. And he can't be on TikTok till they start bringing home championship rings again. And Ben's not going to mentor him in anything but yoga and a couple beers in the off season. And then
great reference, by the way, with yoga and a couple of beers, with the Jay Glazer quote from last off season that was Ben's recipe for getting into shape. I just want to make sure that line of brilliance and that reference on your part went noted by everyone listening. Keep going, Andrew.
Thank you. And then Ben, he did wonders for years and years, but he hasn't done anything in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. I mean, great, you're doing good during the regular season, but there's no gas left in the tank in the playoffs. And the fact that he's still there, we already know he's not going to be a mentor to any new guy coming in. I realize that cutting him this year would have been huge against the cap hit, but we can't move forward until he's not in that building anymore. So what's your take or prediction on what year can I get excited about? Because it's certainly not going to be next year, and certainly I'm concerned about the year after that.
See, but Andrew, the way you just framed this question is brilliant. Because I made this point years ago. I want to take you back. I ripped the Minka Fitzpatrick deal. I ripped it.
Yes.
Not because I didn't like Minka, because I thought the Steelers were on planet delusional. And I know I was right. And it's been proven I was right. And they haven't won a playoff game since. And they're not going to win a playoff game this year. And what year should you be excited? I mean, you're on track on the bare bones minimum for 2023. Because 2021 is a waste. They're going to be terrible in 2022. So we're talking about 2023. That's going to be 6-7 years before you're potentially in position to win a playoff game. I mean, you haven't won a playoff game since January 15th of 2016. I mean, what are we doing here? But the Steelers, they can do this because they have a bunch of fans who are on planet delusional, not you. So, yeah, I would have gotten rid of Roethlisberger. I would have told him it's over. You know, you want to keep playing? Go sign in Washington. Seriously, go sign in Washington. You needed to get rid of Bell and Brown, obviously. You didn't replace them. It's a mess. It's a complete and utter mess. And I feel terrible for people like you, Andrew, who see the forest through the trees, who want more, who want a winning team, and your organization is incapable of giving it to them. And you understand that, you know, guys like Nelson or Hilton or Williams or Alou and obviously Bud Dupree, they would be better for winning than Juju Smith-Schuster. They're so all over the map and have been for the last 5 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Absolutely right. And the caller earlier that had said that Kohler is one of the best GMs in the draft. I didn't even mean
to be so rude, but I just exploded on him. I couldn't take it in the first hour of the show.
It didn't make any sense. Yeah. I mean, yes, they draft phenomenal wide receivers, but you look at the rest of the team right now, and it looks like Swiss cheese. I mean, you just plug in holes. There's no chance right now.
Andrew, this was a superb telephone call, and it's pretty crystal clear. You know your stuff. Now, one of these Steelers fans who's going home at night and watching Terry Bradshaw in his prime, you are all over what needed to happen. It's in the past tense now because this team is a football and a financial mess. We have a pretty gigantic signing in the National Football League. We'll get into it and more of your outstanding telephone calls right after this.
Schein on Sports.